Hi everybody, my name is Caroline Leon and it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you, even though it's virtually. So thank you for having me, and I hope that you gain a little bit of insight from my story and what I have to share with you today. So firstly, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. I have been living in the Middle East and particularly Dubai for the last 11 years. And I've gone through many trials and tribulations here, lots of ups and lots of downs. And my story is a little bit tumultuous. I am a business owner here in Dubai. I own a company called A Life of Education, and I'm also an avid mountain climber. And last year I embarked on a Guinness World Record attempt to summit all of the mountains in the Middle East in 30 days. And 5 years ago, I had a really severe rock climbing accident, and I stupidly climbed an outdoor rock climbing wall, and then the peg came off and I fell all the way down and I broke most of my body. And I ended up in a hospital in Dubai, and I had 23 blood transfusions, and I had 14 surgeries, and I had my whole body reconstructed. So I had my feet reconstructed because they smashed. I had my pelvis reconstructed, and I also had it attached to the other side of my body because when I landed, it went like this. And I had part of my spine replaced, which exploded in the accident. So I spent a good 2 years undergoing lots of surgeries and going in and out of hospital, and really learning what it feels like to be at rock bottom. Because trust me when I say I was at rock bottom, and really difficult and challenging circumstances. And the reason that I bring that up because to me it really showed me that actually our everyday heroes, they certainly do not wear capes whatsoever. Our everyday heroes are the nurses that looked after me, or the friends and family that come and visit you when you're really in need. So I mentioned to all of you that I'm a little bit of an amateur mountain climber, and after my accident, it took me a really long time to recover and to learn how to walk again. And like little bit by bit, I started to get this idea in my mind that I wanted to do something that was going to really transition me out of being in a wheelchair and on crutches and being broken and being reconstructed. And I wanted to do something that was within reason, kind of, and to really like push myself forward. I wanted to push myself through something where once I did this, I was no longer a victim of my accident. I would have transcended that. And in my mind, I was looking for something that was just a really clear line. And I remember getting this idea that I wanted to climb a mountain, and all of a sudden it kind of spiraled, and I ended up climbing a lot more mountains than is reasonable and for any person. And on one of the mountains that I was climbing, it's the highest volcano in the Middle East, the highest volcano in Asia. It's in Iran and it's called Mount Damavand. And this volcano is quite an active volcano. It has like little sulfur that comes out from the summit, and it is 5,662 meters. So it's a high altitude mountain. And I remember first day on the summit, it was like, oh, this is so beautiful. I just loved being in Iran. It was such a beautiful country, and the walk was gorgeous. And day two, it was a little bit colder, and my lips were cracking and my hands were a little bit colder. And by day three, when we were above 4,000 meters, I started to get all of this doubt in my mind. I was like, what am I thinking? Like, am I absolutely crazy to do this? And I had literally just finished climbing another mountain before. I was in Turkey climbing Mount Ararat. So I finished climbing Mount Ararat and I flew straight to Iran. I changed all my clothes and went straight onto the summit. And halfway through being on the summit, in Iran, I literally thought I was crazy. I couldn't believe that I was doing something like this. I thought it was ridiculous, and I thought I'd totally lost my mind, and what was I doing, a disabled person trying to climb a mountain? And I started to really feed on the doubt. And it was really funny because I had these kind of like this battle in my mind going on. It was like, you're here, you can do this. Like, you can do this, you're almost there, you're really close, you've got one day left to get onto the summit. And the other part of my mind was like, I'm crazy, there's no way I can do this. And I kept looking at the donkeys, and the donkeys were carrying people's like cargo up, and they were carrying food and firewood and all this stuff up the mountain. And I kept looking at the donkeys going, oh my God, maybe I could pay one of the people to put me on the donkey and carry me off the mountain. Like, that's how desperate I was to find a way out of this, because I put myself in a situation where I just had so much doubt. And then we get to summit night, and summit night, we left at like 2 in the morning, and it is freezing. It's literally it was minus 11 on the summit. So it was minus 11, and I'm leaving my tent, and my fingers are freezing, and it's pitch black. And I start following my guide, Mariam, up this mountain, and we're taking one step at a time. And when you're climbing a mountain, it's literally like, and every step that I was going through in my mind was just like darkness. It was like, what am I doing here? I wanted to get off. I wanted to run away. I didn't think I could do this. I was crazy. But I kept going, and I just kept following Mariam all the way up. And literally 12 hours later, so this is now 2 p.m., we're still summiting the mountain, and we're about 200 meters away, and the mountain's full of sulfur smoke, and so it's even harder to breathe. And now you're at 5,500 meters with literally only 100 to 200 meters to go. And I could see the summit, and I was like, oh. And for some reason I got in my mind that it was 200 meters, like a flat walk, but it was actually only 200 meters in elevation, but that we actually had about 30 minutes left of walking, maybe a little bit more. And those last 30 minutes were horrendous for me. They were filled with like this complete battle, and I knew I had to push through. So the reason that I'm telling you this story, and before I tell you anything else, I did get to the summit. I managed to get through, but literally by the hair of my chin. I got to the summit. I started crying my eyes out because it was the hardest battle that I'd ever gone through. It was literally a battle within my mind. And I was crying and taking videos, so eventually I could post them on social media and just like proclaim that I managed to get there, even though the whole process was so hard. But the reason that I'm telling you this is because this is something that I've drawn from my experience of climbing, like amateur mountain climbing, is that when you climb a mountain, particularly summit night is dark and it's cold, and you literally sometimes can't see the end in sight. But at the end of the day, at the very end of summit night, if you persevere, so if you push through all of that darkness and all of the failure, and you keep going through that tunnel, at the end of the tunnel is the light. And on mountains, it's almost like you keep going, and you don't give up, and eventually you get to the summit. And most of the time, if you're lucky, summit comes also with the rising of the sun. And you see just so much light, and you see the arc of the earth and the clouds underneath, and everything just kind of goes into perspective because you can see the bigger picture of some of these really challenging events. And the reason that I'm explaining you this story is that life sucks sometimes. There are situations that are really, really hard. And sometimes there's situations that we have put on ourselves. And sometimes there's situations completely out of our control, like COVID. But the point is that the situation itself is what makes us, molds us into the better version of ourselves if we allow ourselves to do that. So for me, I was either going to succumb to the darkness of my own mind, all of those thoughts that I couldn't do this. I could have easily spoken to my guide and asked him, Marion, please get me off this mountain. Let's go down on a donkey. And that would have been it. And I would have not persevered, and I would have let the negative voices in my mind win. But what I want to share this story with you is that if we let our light win and we turn down the volume of all of those dark noises, all of the voices that say to us that we can't do this, that we can't go any further, that it's too hard, that the situation is insurmountable. If we keep going and we take one step at a time and keep pushing through, eventually we're going to push through that darkness, that tunnel, and we're going to come out the other end. And if we allow ourselves to, then that situation itself is going to mold us into something stronger. It's going to mold us into a better version of us. And so my lesson here, and I think I've said this before to many, many people, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, is I remember listening to this nursery rhyme when I was little. And the nursery rhyme goes, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you have to go through it. Which to me it means that you can't hide from a situation, right? None of us can hide from COVID. And we can't run away from COVID, that's for sure, because we're stuck, we can't travel. But what we can do is go through it with our best foot forward, and we can persevere. And if we take one step at a time and listen to the light inside us, the part of us that's like, do you know what, I can do this. I can be the best version of myself in this situation. And I turn down the volume to that darkness, to all those noises of doubt, and we keep going, then we're going to be able to come through the other end. And an interesting quote that I really love is this quote about life and really challenging situations, revealing to us who we really are. And we have to give ourselves the opportunity to reveal that actually there's really good inside of us, and we want to reveal the best part of us. So one of my favorite books is a book by Nassim Taleb called Anti-Fragile. And something that I learned from this book, and a really like a nugget of gold lesson here. So Nassim Taleb explains what it means to be anti-fragile. And to be anti-fragile, it means that I'm going to be robust enough that I don't break. But I'm also going to change. So I'm not going to break, but I'm going to transform. And that's what it means to be anti-fragile. So what's the next situation? So the next situation is that I have an object, and this object might be like a book. And I drop the book on the floor again. And so the book doesn't break, which means that it's not fragile. It has a certain amount of robustness to it. But it also doesn't change. The floor doesn't make it stronger. The floor doesn't make it wiser. The floor does nothing to change its essence, the essence of the book. And that means the book is robust, but it doesn't have the ability to evolve. And we don't really want that either. So let's think about the next situation, right? And now imagine that I have, one of those Play-Doh balls, those really like rubbery balls, and I drop that onto the floor, and it doesn't break, but when I pick that ball up, I notice that something's different about it. It has maybe an indentation, or it has a mark, or something in that ball is actually making it stronger, it's making it evolve. And that's what it means to be anti-fragile. It means that I am robust enough not to break, but that I also learn some really valuable lessons from the situation, and I grow and I change. And to me, Nassim's book really epitomizes what we all want to aspire to, which is we want to aspire to being like robust and unbreakable and brave and strong, and all of those beautiful words that we hear when we think about heroes, or when we think about people that we aspire to be like. And then in addition to that, we also want to let situations like COVID make us stronger. And make us more resilient to life and make us see the bigger picture. Because sometimes when we're in that dark tunnel, like I have been many times through my accident and through all my mountain climbing expeditions, you get into this mode where you just literally see only the darkness, and you're not able to take yourself out of that and see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture really is that inside all of us, we have the ability to evolve, to change, and to be that hero. And we really just have to get out of our own way and allow ourselves to rise to the occasion. And like Dr. Phil said, situations do not make us hero. They reveal to us who the heroes are. And I wanted to leave you with that as a final thought, because I know inside all of you, there is a hero inside you. So get out of your own way and rise to the occasion. Thanks.